What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? BizzyDad here, you there, checking out the latest deck build video. And first things first, a big, giant hello to my newest subscribers coming in right at the bottom of the screen right now. Thank you guys so much for hitting that subscribe button, jumping on board T Busy. Always room for everybody. And I say it all the time. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to subscribe to me and follow my videos and comment, the liking and the sharing. All of it's really good. It keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to put up new videos and just keep this community growing. Force of Will is a really fun game, and there are a lot of great places out there, not just here, a lot of other great channels to go check out for content and discussion and deck builds such as this and matches. So definitely keep the community growing, and I really appreciate it. So we're going to get into a good deck here for a ruler that's making a little bit of a comeback. You see him here on the screen. He is getting ready to clown around, and it is Blazer. Now, since the Fox is poking his head all over the place, Blazer has become a little bit more popular. You're seeing him in sideboards now, just in case you run into the Fox. And I've always wanted to build a deck for Blazer, but I really wanted to make it fun and interesting, nothing boring. Take advantage of his abilities and the threat that he is. So this is really a fun one, really an interesting one. See it all the way through to the end. You'll see what I mean. Hopefully you agree with me. So this is the profile for the deck I call Blazer Tag, and it is a new Frontier format deck. So we're only using Alice and Lapis Cluster cards here. This is going to be a white, green, blue, and red deck. So we are all over the map. And this is kind of a greatest hits or an all-star collection because a lot of the cards you're going to see in this deck have been used in my other deck profiles all over the place, but they are all coming together now to make one really fun deck with a pretty surprising win condition. We have 3 ways to win here. So let's get into it. Our ruler is Blazer Gill Rabus or Rabus. I don't know how it's properly pronounced, and I know the pronounce police are out there. They watch every second of my videos, and they wait for me to pronounce something wrong, and then they instantly attack. They have swiftness. They swing right away, and they definitely let me know. And I usually don't let them down because if you know me, I usually pronounce something wrong when it comes to these names or these cards. So he is a Void Ruler, a minion of Primogenitor with a judgment cost of 0, my favorite. But there's a catch. It says play this ability only if your opponent controls a J ruler. So in other words, you can't flip Blazer unless your opponent flips their ruler first. Just like in middle school, I'll do it if you do it. And there's a pretty great constant ability. Magic stones you control gain the ability to rest and produce red. So no matter what stone you pull, that stone will be able to make red. And so, of course, not surprising, we do lean a little bit towards red cards here. So we always seem to have a play. So let's pretend that our opponent flipped their ruler over, which means we get to pay 0 and flip ours over. And it still is Blazer, a 1,000 minion of Primogenitor J ruler. Now it is darkness and fire. So it becomes he gets colors assigned to him, red and dark. Artwork is really great as usual. And let's read all this text because when this card enters your field, target J ruler your opponent control loses all abilities until end of turn. And when this card enters your field, destroy target J ruler your opponent controls. Now, this doesn't happen at once. These are 2 separate abilities. So they do go on the chase, and the chase resolves backwards. So when you flip Blazer over, you would want to declare destroying the J ruler first with stripping the abilities on top. This way, if there are no responses, when it resolves backwards, you strip the J ruler of all abilities, and then you destroy the J ruler. So it's a pretty heavy hitter when Blazer does get to flip over. If your opponent doesn't have any way to get their J ruler imperishable or any way to escape these abilities, their J ruler is going to die. And that's why it's so impactful against the Fox, because even though the Fox says it can't be destroyed, if Blazer strips him of all his abilities, that is gone. So strip the Fox of the abilities and then destroy the Fox, and you've pretty much killed that deck off. So pretty good. He keeps the will sync. Magic stones you control still get that ability to rest and produce red. That is really important to have it on both sides. And also, this card will gain +4/+4 as long as you don't control a resonator. So if Blazer is out on the field by himself, he jumps up to 14/14, which is pretty good. But we don't mind not having to flip Blazer over. We'll be very happy with just him staying on his ruler side, calling stones in the background, and just being a deterrent, making sure our opponent doesn't want to flip their ruler over right away. So let's get into the stone base, and we're going to start off with 4 copies of Magic Stone of Light Vapors. This gives us access to both blue and white, as well as red, because all our Magic Stones rest to produce red. So with this one card, with this one stone, we can make 3 colors. That is very useful. We're also going to run 3 copies of Magic Stone of Deep Wood. This gives us access to both blue and green. Of course, also able to make red. Whoops, that's upside down. Finally, 3 copies of Magic Stone of Gusting Skies, which will give us green and white. Also with Blazer, the ability to produce red. So stepping out of my usual comfort zone, 10 dual stones. Because we're running so many colors, we're going to have to use all these stones, and we're going to use them to our advantage. So let's get into the actual main deck, and we're going to start with our spell lineup really quick. And 4 copies of Lightning Strike, good way to start it off. And of course, it is a red deck, and usually this is a staple in a red deck. So it is a quick cast chant. You could do it at any time. 1 red, and you choose one. This card either hits a target J Resonator for 500 or deals 500 damage to your opponent. So just a great card. 1 red, you can smack your opponent for 500 or get rid of a pesky little Resonator on your opponent's side of the board if necessary. 4 copies of one of my favorite blue cards. You know you've seen this a lot if you've seen my videos. 4 copies of Sniping from the Blind Spot. It is a Chant Instant. You could do it at any time. 1 blue and return target rested Resonator to its owner's hand. And this gets you out of a lot of trouble if your opponent has a big Resonator swinging at you and you have the blue and you have this card. You can just send them right back to your hand. If one of your Resonators is rested and your opponent's trying to get rid of them, you can always use this on your own Resonator and send it back to your hand. So really great utility card, and really no reason not to play it or sideboard it if you're running blue. 4 copies of Gathering of Fairies. Now, this is just a regular chant. You can only do it on your turn. 1 light to play, and you gain 1,000 life. It's as simple as that, and who doesn't want to gain 1,000 life in this game? So really just the ability to pay 1 light, gain 1,000 life. It's just beautiful, and can definitely extend the game, get you out of trouble if you're on the ropes. Definitely a good card. 4 copies of Blood Boil. This is a Chant Instant, so you can do it at any time. It costs 2, 1 red and 1 other to play, and you get to choose 1. You can either deal 600 damage to your opponent. You can choose that your opponent cannot gain life until the end of turn, or target Resonator gains +8/+8 until the end of turn, but at the next end of turn, destroy that Resonator. So ideally, your primary target is your opponent to hit him for 600 or her. Hello, ladies. Hit them for 600, or you can always just make sure they don't gain life for the turn, or you could pump up a Resonator +8/+8, but then they get destroyed at the next end of turn. So definitely has a lot of choices. I mainly use it just to hit my opponent for the 600. And speaking of hitting our opponents for 600, here's 4 copies of Bombardment, a 2-drop Chant Instant, so you can do it at any time. 2 red to play, and this card deals 600 damage to target player or Resonator. So again, you get that choice. You can hit your opponent for 6, or you can hit a target Resonator for 6. Pretty straightforward. Let's go with 4 copies of Crimson Rays, one of the newer cards here. Let's make sure we get this in the shot. It is a 2-drop quick cast chant, so you could do this at any time. 1 red and 1 light to play. And this card deals 600 damage to target player or J Resonator, and you gain 600 life. So this is a really good best of both worlds. We can hit our opponent for 600. We can hit one of our opponent's Resonators for 600, but we get to pick. And no matter what, we're going to gain 600 life as well. So really great combination of burn our opponent and gain life at the same time for 2 at instant speed. So really no complaints about that. It's a really good card in Legacy Lost. So really good to see that. 4 copies of The Last Drop. This is a 2-drop instant chant, so we can do this at any time. 1 green and 1 of other to play, and you get to choose 1. You either gain 1,000 life, again, who doesn't want to gain 1,000 life, or put target Resonator with total cost 2 or less from your graveyard into your field rested. So really good card here for the choice. If you need the life, you can always gain 1,000 life at instant speed. That is amazing. And if you have a resonator in the graveyard with a cost 2 or less that you want to throw into the field, this card can come out and do it too. Since it's instant, it's great to do this at the end of your opponent's turn because it has to come into your field rested. So wait for your opponent to end the turn, play the last drop, put your resonator into your field rested. Then it goes into your turn and you can recover that resonator who can now attack that turn. So really good card. 3 copies of Seal of Wind and Light. This is one of my favorite chants. It's a chant instant, so we could do this at any time. 1 green and 1 light to play, and simply cancel target spell. So this cancels summons. This cancels any regular spell as well as the summons. Is really why we have it. Our opponent summons a really big resonator, Captain Hook, and we have the green and the light. We can play this and just cancel that spell, that resonator coming in. Again, I think I have a cough here. Captain Hook. We have a lot of dual stones. We have all dual stones, so we do have to protect ourselves against cards like Hook, and this is one of them right here, as well as other big resonators or big problems that might come our way. So really good card to have if we have the stones to play it. Like I said, just great, always great to have. Speaking of great to have, it's 3 copies of Prison in Lunar Lake. This is a spell chant standby. So even though it says it is a cost of 3, we pay the 2 and we put this card in our chant standby area face down and wait for the trigger. And the trigger is whenever your opponent plays an automatic ability of a resonator they control that was put into the field this turn, and we control a water magic stone. We get to flip this over. So again, this could answer Captain Hook, but this can also answer those chimeras when we're going up against somebody who has the fox and they banish a green and a dark resonator and that killing stone to bring in one of their chimeras, the griffin to call 2 stones, or Amit to kill one of our resonators. That's our trigger. As long as that happens and we control a water magic stone, we flip this over and then boom, we cancel the ability and destroy the resonator. So someone tries to play a Hook, this gets canceled and destroys Hook. Plays a chimera, that gets canceled and the chimera gets destroyed and everything just goes to the graveyard. So really good card to have. It's almost a necessity, being that so many decks run Hook and the fox runs those chimeras. So it's a good defensive card to have and could slow them down, maybe buy you an extra turn to help you out. 2 copies of Lumia's Judgment. This is also from the new set, and it is just a regular chance. You can only do this on your turn, and it costs 1 light, 1 red, and X. And it says remove all non-magic stone, non-J-ruler cards with total cost X or less from the game. This is a really strong card if you're going up against somebody with tokens or elves or just putting a lot of pressure on the field. If you have, for example, let's say we use 3 for the X. So we pay 1 light, 1 red, and 3. We have the 5 stones. We throw that out there. We play this. If it gets through, then all cards that aren't stones or J-rulers that have a total cost of 3 or less are removed from the game. So all the resonators, additions, regalia, anything with a total cost 3 or less, or whatever you pay for the X, is RFG, gone from the game. This card has gotten me out of trouble a couple of times, especially against the elves. That was really cool. And you can even declare the X as 0. Those elf tokens are considered a cost of 0. But even just 2 and 1 or 2 and 2 and just get rid of all those little threats from the board and just remove them from the game. It's a really strong card. I have 2. You could go to 3 if you want, but I found 2 to be pretty good. It's strong. 3 might be a little too much because this is really a good one shot to just help you out of trouble. So that's it for our spells. Not too many, right? So let's now go into our resonator lineup, and we only have 1 resonator and we only have 4 cards left. So here it is. Here's our big hitter. It's 4 copies of the Prokaryotic Being. This is also from Legacy Lost, a new card. It is a 2-drop magic life form resonator. So it's 1 red and 1 blue to play, 0 attack and 0 defense. Doesn't seem like a big threat, except this card gains +200/+200 for each chant in your graveyard. And now you see the big hit, the big surprise of this deck, because we have these 4 copies. So we have these 4 resonators in our deck, and the other 36 cards are chants. So we are going to spend the game building our graveyard up with these spells. We're going to burn our opponent. We're going to gain life. we're going to cancel, we're going to send resonators back to their hand, we're going to RFG if they build up a big enough presence, get ourselves out of trouble, save us some time for this guy right here. The more chants in our graveyard, the more deadly the prokaryotic being becomes. And that's not all, because for 1 red, this card gains swiftness until the end of turn, and for 1 blue, this card gains flying until the end of turn. So, ideally what we'd like to do is spend the game burning our opponent and gaining life and building up that graveyard. So hitting him for 500, hitting him for 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, or her, sorry again, ladies. And then we get him down. They're almost to the, they're below 2,000. They're in the 1,200, 1,400 because we've been burning them all game. The graveyard is nice and full, and then boom, we bring the prokaryotic being out. We have the 4 stones. We give them flying and swiftness and just swing for the game. It'd be even nice if they try to block and we have a sniping from the blind spot in our hand, send the blocker back, the damage gets through, and that is the game. Even a little bit of an insurance policy if our opponent does get him in the graveyard with discard or anything like that. That's why we have copies of the last drop, because the prokaryotic being is a 2-drop resonator. We can just put him right back into our field, and then once the last drop resolves and hits the graveyard, he gets another +2/+2 because of that. So the deck is built to get that graveyard full of chance and then bring out the slime, the prokaryotic being, in to finish off the game. So it's a really good 1-2 punch, because as the game's going along, we're burning our opponent, just draining the life. And then once the being comes out, our graveyard is big enough, we give him flying and swiftness and just send him in for the final kill. And we also have those cards like Sniping to make sure the damage can get through. We can always send a blocker back. So that is the main deck. And our sideboard, of course, always is situational, but I really wanted to have a sideboard that addressed a lot of the potential issues or opponents you might be playing, especially with the more popular decks. So like I say, you plug and play these cards as you see fit, but I really wanted to get a lot of answers out there. So let's get into our sideboard. And first off, it's 3 copies of Shackles of Ice. This is a 1 blue edition. And as long as this card is not bestowed to a card, players cannot play activate abilities. Players cannot play Ruler's activate abilities. So this is going to shut down our Dark Alice opponents. This is going to shut down our Mikage opponents who can't use those Ruler activate abilities. We have Blazer. He has no activate abilities on his Ruler side, so we don't care. This could sit out in the field all game long. If our opponent doesn't have a way to get rid of additions, they're not going to be able to get those blood counters with Mikage. They're not going to be able to use Dark Alice to get rid of our cards from the graveyard and then get to flip over. So a really good shutdown card here, and no reason not to have this in our sideboard, just in case we come up against a Ruler just like that. So really good to have. We have 3 copies of Heavenly Gust. I really do like this card. It is a 2-drop instant. We could do this at any time, and you choose one. Destroy target addition or regalia, which is great. So at instant speed, you can just get rid of an addition or regalia. But it has the torrent. So if it's the second card you played, then you destroy all additions and regalia your opponent controls, and that is where the value is. You go up against somebody, a heavy regalia deck, or somebody who has the regalia on the field that can give their J-Ruler imperishable for the turn. Here's a good way to just wipe all that stuff out, and then once it's all clear, we can flip Blazer over and kill their J-Ruler. So really good card to have, a good answer against all those decks like Zero. Zero plays heavy regalia deck. This really just takes care of all of it. It takes care of one, but if it's the second card played, it takes care of all of them, so that's really good. 3 copies of Memory of Flame. This is if we want to be a little more aggressive with our burn. It's another standby. It's a chant standby. So again, we pay the 2, and we put this in our chant standby area, and we wait for the trigger. And the trigger is, it says that whenever you play a chant or a chant instant card, if that target spell chant instant would deal damage, it deals that much plus 600 instead, which is really good because cards like Blood Boil and Bombardment, just those cards that are burning our opponent, are now going to do that plus 600 more. So that's really good to hit them with 1,200 on a Bombardment or a Blood Boil. It's just stuff like that. Just extra burn if we want to be more aggressive on the burn to put our opponent out quicker. Just a really good card to have. We have 3 copies of 4C. This is a 2-drop chance. You can only do this on your turn, but simply you draw 2 cards. This helps you out if you come up against someone who's playing the Dark Discard package, really making you get rid of your cards. here's a good way to get 4C in there, draw 2 more cards, and try to keep your hand alive as best as possible. Then it goes into the graveyard, of course, and helps your prokaryotic being go up +2/+2. Finally, it's 3 copies of Interdimensional Escape, another card I really like. It's an Chant Instant, so you can do it at any time, 2 light and 1 other to play. Each player chooses a resonator they control, then each player banishes all other resonators they control. So another good way to just wipe the board, make our opponent pick one of their resonators, and they have to get rid of everybody else. Again, our deck only runs the prokaryotic being, so we don't care if he's on the field or not, because that's the one we're going to choose. That's the only one we have out there. So a really good way to just level our opponent's playing field and just kind of kick them in the gut when they're trying to build a presence up. Not a bad card to have, especially if you go up against somebody who likes to flood the field. So guys, that is it. The deck profile for Blazer Tag and the Spell Chant All-Star cards that have all come together to make a really fun deck. And I'd want to know what you think. Do you like this deck? Do you hate it? Let me know what you think with a comment below. I love the discussion. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We've got more videos coming, as you know. So, guys, that is it for today. As always, thanks for a few minutes, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.